Thank you for coming here today.
My pleasure.
So tell us your personal story of how you came to Cabrini.
Well, you want some ancient history, huh?
Yeah, ancient.
I knew about the Cabrini sisters before they had this school. I grew up not far from here, and the parish I belonged to started a school, an elementary school. And they recruited Cabrini sisters from Philadelphia to come and teach in the school. And in the summer, when they were getting ready, I was in college, and when the school was being set up, I was asked to drive some of the sisters from West Philadelphia up to Conshohocken, where we had the school. So I got to know the sisters pretty well. In fact, there was a first grade teacher that I used to drive back and forth from West Philly that summer, Sister Regina Casey, who became president of the college and who became head of the whole Cabrini order, and we remain good friends to this day. Now, I used to bring, this institution started as an orphanage. Actually, it was for kids from broken homes. They didn't have much room for them in West Philadelphia. So Mother Ursula bought this property, and I think she always had the intention of starting a college. But the first people that were housed here were these girls, these young girls, children, who were from broken homes. And I remember one summer I organized our older boys at the church, and we came out and we scraped and painted the swimming pool so the girls could use it. And I also remember going to a local shoe store and getting some shoes that he thought maybe he couldn't sell. I got him to donate them, and we came out and gave them to the children here. Oh. But I was teaching in high school when the college was here, and the priest friend of mine who knew the nuns told me that they were hiring people, and I was finishing up my master's program in philosophy. And I came here and met Mother Ursula and signed the contract and wound up teaching. It was in the fall of 1960 when I started teaching here. It was the first graduating class. The students had come to the first four-year terminus, and I taught them as seniors. So I taught the first graduating class here at Cabrini College.
Wow. You said Mother Ursula. What are your recollections of her here?
Well, Mother Ursula is the founder of Cabrini College. If there were no Mother Ursula, there would be no Cabrini College. She had that vision, that ideal of starting a college here for women. She had been the principal of Cabrini High School in New York, and I remember first time I met her, she interviewed me for the teaching position, and I was really impressed with her. She was a very strong, powerful woman. She knew what she wanted, and she got it. And she had a lot of faith in me, because I had taught only in high school prior to coming to the college, but I knew I wanted to teach in college. My field was philosophy, and I was teaching English and history in high school, and she offered a chance for me to do my thing.
That's great. You said that a lot of them came from Cabrini High School in New York. Was that predominantly what the first graduating class was made up of?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It was a small class, but most of them were from New York. And they knew Mother Ursula from their high school days. And then we got a lot of students from the Philadelphia area, too. Delaware Valley, the Catholic high schools became feeder schools for us. But most of the students were from New York in the early days, and I remember they used to. They had a special relationship with Mother Ursula, and in those days there was required chapel. The seniors would go in one day, and the juniors would go in another day. So I found a bunch of New Yorkers huddling together once. They were planning to go to Mass, and they were going to sit so Mother Ursula would see them really good, because they want to ask her if they could get Friday off and get an early start on the weekend and go to New York. And we had a big laugh about that because I bumped into their conversation, you know, and they were saying, now don't tell. And of course, Mother Ursula knew all along what they were doing, you know, so they used to play this little game together. But it was really a close-knit family operation from the very beginning. I think we knew everybody, and I still have a close ties with some of those early graduates.
That's great. I know that Cabrini's changed a lot, especially the buildings here. What was Founders Hall like? What was it before when you were here?
It was brand new. It was brand new. The fall of 1960, my first year here, was the dedication of this building. They had worked on it. I didn't see it in the building process or in the planning process, but it was the first brand new big building here on campus, and we had a big celebration. Cardinal O'Hara came for the dedication, and Mother Ursula was friends with the commandant over at Valley Forge Military Academy, so she had the Valley Forge band lining the walkway out in front of Sacred Heart Hall. It was called Sacred Heart Hall, and we all marched in formal attire and piped in and drummed in by the Valley Forge band, and we had a big dedication. And it was such a relief to take that strain, from what I'm told, off of the mansion. We had the library. The ground floor of this building was the library. It was one huge building, floor, all open. That was our library. Holy Spirit Library came a couple of years later. But I gave a talk to our graduates one year, to alumni reunion. And I told them that, I said, you know, I'm going to expose some alumni fallacies. I said, fallacy number one is that I hear alums come back and say, why didn't they have that when I was here? And I went through a list of every year, every class had something to remember of a new building on campus. And I'd say, remember Sacred Heart Hall? You know, and they would say, yes. And that class would remember. You know, you remember the Widener building? You know, you remember Holy Spirit Library? Every new building gave us a new advancement, and every class had a memory of something new. So I told them, I don't want to hear that fallacy of why didn't they have that when I was here. And they got a big laugh out of that.
So you had said before, though, Founders Hall actually was the gymnasium before.
Well, the gymnasium was here. It was in Sacred Heart Hall. This room that we're sitting in now would be part of the gym. There were 2 floors in this wing. The dining hall was where it is now, and then above it was a big gymnasium. And when they renovated Sacred Heart Hall and it became Founders Hall, they made 2 floors here out of the gym. The old gym is now 2 floors.
So I know that when you first began to teach here, it was just women, and it went Coed in 71.
Yes.
How did men even come to be admitted to Cabrini? How did they even allow that?
Well, our first male graduate was Ed Walsh, and I taught Ed Walsh in the evening at St. Joe's. While I was teaching here, St. Joe's College, it was called then, had a huge night school. It was the only night school in town. There were no community colleges. They were desperate for somebody to teach a logic course, and a friend of mine called me and asked if I would go and teach a logic course at night while I was teaching here full time. So I taught a course at St. Joe's, and I met some guys there, and this Ed Walsh was one in particular, and he said he would love to go and finish full time. And I said, well, you could try Cabrini. We did it as an experiment. He was the first male graduate, but formally and officially, we did it through a committee that we had at that time called the Council of College Affairs. It was a tremendous committee. It was made up of 4 elected faculty members, elected from their peers, 8 elected students, and 4 appointed administrators. We would meet once a month, and we served as an advisory committee to the president. we could discuss anything. We had our own stationery, so when we passed out a recommendation on that stationery, it had some weight. That committee was responsible for the counseling center. Dr. Tomasco was instrumental there. We met at that Council of College Affairs and said, we really need counseling services for our students. Dr. Tomasco, is a licensed school psychologist. He's a licensed clinical psychologist. He was instrumental in helping us to form that counseling service center, which we have in the Royman Center now. That was one of the things that the Council of College Affairs would do. I proposed at the meeting that we become co-ed. And that would be a monumental change. So we did a survey of all the alums. We informed the board of our intentions. We surveyed the faculty, the present students. We did it right, and we did it legally according to our due process procedures. And when we finally voted at the Council of College Affairs that our future at Cabrini College should be as a co-ed institution, it was passed, sent to the president, approved by the board, and it became official. But we did it right. We really did it right.
That's good. What are some of your recollections of yourself as a dean here?
Oh boy, that's we jumped a lot of time there. That would be in
I know.
1979 to 1988. I did it for 9 years.
And also, your transition. What was your transition like from teaching to going to dean and then coming back to that? I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, it was like night and day in many ways. But I tell you, I don't think I could have done it anywhere else except Cabrini College, because at least I had a head start. Sister Mary Louise was president. Dr. Dorothy Brown, who came the year after I came to Cabrini, she was in the biology department. She was asked to be the dean in 1969, I think it was. And she loved administration. She was a terrific dean. We did a lot of good things when she was the dean here. And she was stolen away from us by Rosemont College, who named her as president of Rosemont. And there was a kind of emptiness among the faculty. We worked with a colleague. She had been our colleague on the faculty for 10 years and then dean for 10 years, so we worked with her for a long time. And Sister Mary Louise had asked me if I would be interested in going into that office. Kind of temporary, I was acting dean for a year.
Right.
Yeah. I said, I'll go in as acting dean for a year. I still want to keep my faculty rank, I know the school. If people are upset, we'll try to calm things down. Well, 9 years later, we're supposed to be, as things happen so often, what was supposed to be a 1 year fill-in became 9 years. And I learned, I thought I knew the school pretty well. You learn a lot more about the school when you're in an administrative position. But I was glad I came from the faculty because I knew our programs. I think I know what we needed. And I tell you, I take a lot of pride in what we accomplished in those 9 years. First graduate program, Dr. Ruth Sauer and Dr. Ann Kennedy and myself, we spent a year and a half writing a proposal for a graduate program, Master's in Education. Took it to Harrisburg and got it approved. A new computer science major, first computer science lab, social work major, political science major, core curriculum renovation that it was unbelievable how you could. It's hard for schools to get faculty members to make changes, especially when it comes to a core curriculum. Dr. Sharon Schwarzy was instrumental there. That was her brainchild. And I just lent her administrative aid, and she even wrote a grant for faculty members to study for 3 summers in a row. We studied the very courses that we want to teach in that new curriculum. And it was a marvelous change that we did.
Did you teach at all any classes while you were? I could see you trying to fit it in. And
yeah. I thought that I would never give up teaching, So uh, I try to teach. I think it was 2 courses my first year, and I found out that this
it was
is
a little hard.
impossible. Yeah, it's impossible. So I gave it up the second year, and then subsequent years after that. That's a lesson I had to learn. It was very, very difficult. There are too many things going on, too many things in your mind. I'd come in to school in the morning, knowing what I wanted to accomplish in my office. I'd take one step on campus and find out there's a crisis somewhere. So all my to-do list would go out the window, and you had to put out that fire and then take care of something else. I went home and told my wife once. I said, it's exhilarating. I said, I walked from my office to the dining hall, a few feet away, and be stopped 3 times. 3 times I would be stopped by somebody, either a student or a faculty member or another administrator, and I'd have to answer questions on 3 different topics, just like that. You get a command of the entire school when you get a position like that, and you know the programs, and you know where you want to go, and sometimes you don't always have the money to get there, but it was exhilarating working with the faculty and the students. I got to know a lot of students as dean. I interviewed a lot of them. I was involved in a lot of the hiring process. We rewrote every job description on the campus that was initiated from my office, from the vice president's office, in terms of personnel policies, and to formulate better personnel policies with job descriptions. So it was a huge.
Did it feel good though after those 9 years to go back and teach?
I knew when it was time to go back.
You missed it.
Yeah, I knew I had to go back to teach. Yeah.
We had talked about some of the committees you were in before, but I know you were involved in, you said, the Council of College Affairs,
Mm-hmm.
the Admissions Committee, the Curriculum Committee, which you said before established the core curriculum, the Master Planning Committee,
Mm-hmm.
the Cabrini Spirit Day Committee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you name it, you were involved in them.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. That Admissions Committee, that was interesting. It had to be in the 70s. The Admissions Committee, prior to our revamping it, it was made up of 3 faculty members. I was one of them, and we used to serve the admissions committee. The admissions staff by reviewing marginal applications. If admissions got an application and they weren't too sure whether they should admit the student or not, they would turn it over to us, the committee of 3. And I remember Dr. Kathy McKinley was on that committee, and I remember she said, we ought to expand this committee and do more with it. And we did. The admissions committee turned out to be really a marketing committee. We had, again, faculty members, administrators, and students that would meet once a month, and we would plan the future of Cabrini College in terms of marketing. How can we get people to know us better? Dr. Adeline Bethany was teaching here part-time, and yet she had a suggestion to run a band adjudication. I never knew they existed. Band competitions are as important for music people as athletic competitions are to athletes.
Right.
She put together these band adjudications where she would have maybe 10 high school bands out here on a Sunday afternoon, thousands of students. The exposure to the college was worth its weight in gold. We would have the admissions staff giving literature out. So many people learned about Cabrini College through those band adjudications. We start running open houses for high school counselors, open houses for high school department heads, right? we marketed the college, and we were really proud to do it. And it was mostly a faculty operation that did it. We got a lot of good results from that admissions committee. Dr. Zurich chaired, as a volunteer, chaired that admissions committee for 10 years.
Wow.
And see, and his success in the communications department made it impossible to continue to do something like that. And now, we don't have that committee. It's more streamlined in terms of the admissions office.
Right.
Do you know one of the things we did in that admissions committee to help in our recruitment and to boost the morale of our admissions recruiters? We recommended and got passed that our admissions recruiters ought to have Cabrini cars. We had an alum, had contacts where we could get car rentals, very reasonable, and say, hey, you come and promote Cabrini College, you get a company car.
Wow.
Maybe our salaries aren't the greatest, but you have a company car. Things like that. A lot of innovative things. We flew an airplane. As far as I know, it was the first time it was a college banner. Those planes that fly at the Jersey Shore?
Uh-huh. You hear one of those?
Carol Scarcella, one of our Cabrini graduate who's working in the admissions office, came into the admissions committee once and said, I can get great rates all summer, including the 4th of July and Labor Day. They'll fly a plane from Cape May to Atlantic City. She had the data. Thousands of people are going to be on the beaches those days, right? Cabrini College, Coed, day and evening, and had a phone number,
Wow.
I was the dean at the time. We shared my wife and I shared a place at the Jersey Shore with my wife's parents. I had a meet the plane party for all the admissions counselors down at our place at the shore, and we were on the beach. We knew what time it was going to fly by. We were absolutely giddy. We were running down the beach following the Cabrini plane. We got a lot of calls from alums. We started advertising on the radio down at the shore that year.
Wow.
So many calls came back, saying it was great to see our college down at the shore, So there are a lot of happy memories about that. That was the admissions committee that did all that work.
Lastly, as far as you being involved in programs, there's so many things that you've initiated since you've been here. Things such as Project Outreach, Transfer Program, the AAUP chapter, the very important Honors Program.
Okay, you have to give credit where credit's due now. On the Project Outreach, the idea came from Sue Toten, Dr. Zurich's wife. She was teaching part-time here in the religion department. She came to me and said, there's so many Cabrini institutions all over the world, schools, medical facilities, social centers. Why don't we get the students engaged in it? She said, you have a good working relationship with the nuns, why don't we see what we can do? So we brainstormed and come up with this tremendous plan to engage our students in the Cabrini missions, and where they could also get some work experience. It was almost like internships. We'd tie in their major with the work. For example, social work majors. One of our first project outreach volunteers went to the Cabrini Hospital in Chicago, and it was a social worker, and she worked with the team in the children's ward of the Cabrini Hospital. A special ed major went and taught special ed in London. The school still exists there, the Cabrini School in Honor Oak, right in a suburb of London. And she got her student teaching credit there, too. So the sisters provided housing. They would provide a stipend when they could afford it. The students got work experience, and they enjoyed the volunteer atmosphere of working with the Cabrini sisters. Swaziland, Africa, one of our biology majors. The very first one went to and worked at the Cabrini mission for a year in Swaziland, Africa.
Wow.
Sue and I presented the plan to a meeting of sisters in that old gym that used to be where we're sitting now.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cabrini sisters from all over the world had a general session here. And that's when we proposed Project Outreach. We had letters prepared in 5 different languages to go, whether it's Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, French, for the missions in French, introducing ourselves to the Cabrini houses. We promoted among the students. We had brochures, pamphlets. Dr. Tomasco's counseling services did psychological counseling before students went out to work. It was a big deal, and it worked.
It sounds very effective. The next one was the transfer program. You also initiated that.
Yeah, I was a faculty member. Dr. Brown was the dean, and I don't know how it got started, but she called me in once and said, take a look at this. It was something from the state, I think. The state had approved community colleges. So you had Bucks County Community Colleges, which was up and running, Delaware County Community College, Montgomery County, and Philadelphia Community College. And she said there's a concern about the state that when students want to graduate from a 2-year college and want to transfer, schools, the 4-year institutions don't know whether they should accept their credits or not. She said, you want to take a look at this? So I looked at it and I said, yeah, I think I can make some sense out of this. So she gave me a reduced load of one course, and I would go out on every Wednesday to the community colleges talking to department heads. And I got copies of their catalogs, and I photocopied different departments, the biology, what they take in biology, what they take in chemistry, what they take in education. And I sent copies to all our department heads. What would you accept here if the students came? And they filled it out. I put the things together, and I made booklets. Special designed program for transfer credits for Bucks County Community College, for Delaware County Community College. Harrisburg recognized this because we were one of the first to do it. And I had a great relationship with those community colleges, and it brought a lot of transfer students in. It was just something that we did. For 1 day a week it started. It got pretty complex. It got pretty complex after that. I even devised a formula for the admissions office to show how many transfer students you would need every year to counterbalance any attrition of students who wouldn't return. And they used that. They used that formula for a long time afterwards.
They probably still use it.
I don't know. I don't know if we need it anymore. Things are changed. Things have changed.
And the other program, the honors program, that is still very, very vibrant at Cabrini.
Now that was the brainchild of Dr. Kathleen McKinley. She was the one that came to me when I was the dean and said, you know, we have a good, strong support service for students that need extra help. How about the other end? How about students who might be a little more gifted? So she was the initiator of our honors program and the first coordinator of the honors program. When I went back to the faculty, she said she had done it long enough, and I took it. When I went back to the faculty in '89, I may have taken it in 1990, I think, and I had it for 12 years. And the culmination was the SEPGE Honors Conference, when we joined that consortium. I think I'm most proud of the extracurricular events that we used to do with the honors, the trips we used to take. We took everything from hiking trips to the Delaware Water Gap to going down to the Academy of Music for the Christmas Handel's Messiah concert, to plays and shows and athletic events, book discussion clubs that we had. And also the honors courses, the new and different honors courses that I encouraged faculty members to create, and they responded beautifully. And then finally the student honors conferences, when our students would present their paper at the SEPG conferences.